Thank you, everybody, for coming. Today, we're going to be learning about building direct mail acquisition or prospecting campaigns with a high degree of effectiveness. A couple things as we go through the call, just to preface, should any questions, comments, concerns come up along the way, feel free to either table them towards the end. We have a dedicated Q&A session where we'll spend a few minutes just going over questions. Alternatively, feel free to just pop something into the chat and we'll get through it as it comes in. So just to kick things off today, we have myself. I'm a senior product manager here at ServiceTitan. I've been working at ServiceTitan for 10 years now, working on the Marketing Pro product for the past 4. Alongside me has been Alex who's our group product manager, overseeing email, direct mail, SMS, and other functionality within ServiceTitan Marketing Pro. Between us have more than decades of experience in the marketing world, and have been around in email, SMS, and direct mail for quite a while now. So happy to be here, happy to help you guys, and hopefully you guys can get some value out of the presentation today. So what are we going to be covering? We're going to be covering the acquisition audience builder itself, what to be considering whilst building the audience, going through best practices for putting together that postcard, and then finally a live demonstration, A to Z, of putting together an acquisition audience, tying it to a campaign, then getting that campaign scheduled. So without further ado, let's get into it. Again, today, idea is to go through the usage of the acquisition audience builder to market to prospects or customers you have not worked with yet. Whilst we're going through that, we're going to be covering techniques for personalizing the messaging through strong targeting. And again, just understanding how to evaluate campaign performance, to figure out where you should be tweaking things, etc., and covering strategies at a high level and also in depth for targeting prospects across different trades. So first things first, the foundation of our marketing campaign is our list. The more targeted, the merrier. And the more targeted this audience is, the higher the relevancy is going to be. And with that, higher the engagement rate and the satisfaction of the recipients. You're not going to, if you target and make sure only relevant people are reaching or receiving your messages, then you're ensuring that you're not overreaching or reaching out to anybody who has no need or desire to get that message. Again, from the customer experience standpoint, this is a huge bonus. It makes customers feel understood, cared about, valued, and is ultimately one of those factors that leads to them coming back to you for repeat business. It's simply a more efficient use of resources. If you have more targeted campaigns, you have more to play with in your budget, so to speak. So we'd like to use the analogy, there's no need to send 5,000 postcards if 500 will do the trick for the same amount of jobs. And you could probably run maybe 9 more campaigns as opposed to just wasting all of your money in one shot. And last thing, targeting your campaigns is actually going to give you better insights and understanding as to what behaviors, messaging your cohorts respond to, what times your customers are prone to buy things, what times they're prone to convert on certain jobs, but also helps you understand who has a high likelihood of coming back, who doesn't, and ultimately what kind of offerings are attractive and which aren't. So why does it matter? Well, understanding how to leverage and utilize this functionality, again, is going to be a very, very impactful thing within your marketing deck. This knowledge is hopefully not going to help you just find people to reach out to, but connect with them in meaningful ways that are going to build a long-lasting and hopefully for you profitable relationship. So let's go ahead and get started with audiences. As we put together an audience, there's a pretty simple 6-step process to go through. The first thing is going to be to define your goals, understand your data. When we say define your goals, essentially what kind of conversion are you looking for? What kind of the revenue or goals behind the campaign. Is it sell something like a piece of equipment? Is it get your foot in the door to look for areas of opportunity for upsell? Is it going to be strictly to get people familiar with your brand and be a branding oriented campaign? This is really critical because essentially it's going to define how you're putting together your list and the rest of your campaign. Now, the understanding data part is very, very unique to each respective customer. The reason why is the data we're using comes from home assessment records. There's a few different types or points of assessment that happen, such as point of sale or time of refinance or insurance renewal. But another key thing to understand here is that city by city, municipality by municipality, state by state, what actually is available within the home assessment record can vary. So for the sake of example, in California, foundation type is a required field, whereas in Alaska, for example, that was only a required field starting in the 90s. So data availability ends up being sporadic from place to place, and it's critical you understand exactly what is being used and how within your local service area by the local state or regional government that's putting together the requirements and mandates around these assessments. And as we go through this, I like people to keep this quote in mind. It really kind of sums up the whole ethos of what we're trying to go through today, which is audience building isn't just putting together a list. It's about finding a way to speak to people in a language they understand and at a time that it's appropriate. Case in point, there's probably no point in following up with an unsold estimate 4, 3, 2 months out, just because chances are they've probably already converted with somebody else or are no longer relevant, i.e., they don't want that job or they've decided against, having that one service done for whatever reason. Likewise, you're probably more prone to capture a membership renewal when you remind people it's expiring ahead of time versus reach out to them when it's already expired. So as you go through your campaign, as you put together your goal, try to think through how people would like to hear that message and when specifically, and make that a part of your campaign. Make sure you're cognizant of that and setting up the campaign around that time frame. So when it comes to sending a postcard, what makes a good postcard? To sum it up, a clear message, strong visuals, a really compelling headline and call to action, making sure your contact information is easily visible and accessible for that person to reach out to you. Again, consistent, repetitive branding that aligns with any other materials that they may have seen from you before. And lastly, a human touch. We'll get into that point. On the topic of a clear message, very, very often, unfortunately, we see people sending out postcards without a clear call to action. Maybe that's 4 or 5 different promotions on the same postcard without a strong rationale as to why they should be calling in. Maybe that's just mentioning something like, $99 tune-up special without explaining the need behind it. But when you're putting together your postcard, please make sure you have a very clear single call to action that makes it explicit as to why they need to reach out to you and how to reach out to you. So clearly state what you want them to do, whether it's follow up on an estimate, whether it's go to your website and schedule their maintenance, or just call in about a coupon on the card. Literally prescribe it to them. The more prescriptive you are, the better. You want to subconsciously program them into taking that action. You want to highlight the benefits with that as well. So don't just say call in for a free estimate and expect that to be sufficient. Make sure you have some rationale behind it, as we talked before, whether it's, prevent costly repairs with this maintenance visit, or have us come in just to make sure that your new home is actually fully up to standard, something along those lines. You want to relay the point. And again, keep it short. You don't want a block of text. No one is looking to read a Charles Dickens novel off of a postcard. So 1 or 2 sentences max. If it takes you 3 or 4 or 5 sentences to relay a single point, I would rethink what you're trying to relay and how. Um, very, very critical that this is the case as we go through some of the templates that ServiceTitan has put together. Utilizing these best practices, I'll point out examples just so you guys have a visual reference. Again, strong visuals. You want to make sure the content you're putting into it is high quality. If you're using images, stock photos, whatever, make sure you're putting in HD resolution pictures. We've seen it, unfortunately, where someone goes through, designs a well-looking postcard, but for whatever reason, drops in a low resolution asset. It goes to the printers. It comes out looking very, very unprofessional. This kind of stuff is the kind of stuff that speaks to your brand. If you can put in the time and effort to put together a well thought out and well presented, well looking postcard, it's reflective of the kind of experience that that customer can expect from your company. And when it comes to the visualizations on the postcard, keep them relevant to the offer at hand. If you're trying to promote something like, for example, new water heater, go ahead and take a picture of something that at least relates to that water heater. Don't just put like a random picture of the customer's home or something like that. Go ahead, make sure that you're essentially relaying the vision or the idea of what you're trying to sell. Another example here would be if you're doing any kind of landscaping services, put one of your best homes or really, really good looking lawn, something ideal that that person can aspire to have. And make sure that you're not cluttering these postcards. Again, try to control the amount of content in it and ensure that it's relevant to the offer at hand. Keep it less cluttered, keep it busy, keep it simple, and try to direct their eyes to the offer that you're trying to relay. The headline is very, 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 very important. This is going to be the first bit of text that they're going to be looking through. Again, that's going to be their first impression. So that first impression is going to determine whether or not they're going to read through the rest of the postcard and even be entertained by it, or just simply toss it into the trash. So again, whatever this headline is should compel or communicate the offer at hand. Make it bold, make it large, make it stand out, make sure it's the first place their eyes are going to go. Make it benefit oriented. So as opposed to just saying, schedule your tune-up, say something like save on your energy bills this summer, or get essentially kind of relay the value within the headline. And again, within the headline, try to direct them to whatever it is you want to do. And create a sense of urgency. Terms like limited time offer or act now really drive the initiative and kind of throw their foot over the line and make them reach out to you. If there's a time window, if there's an expiration, more often than not, people are going to try to take advantage of that. Case in point would be if we're moving into an extreme season on either of the weather extremes in HVAC. If you know there's an upcoming heat wave, throw that in. Call it within the next week or 2 weeks before the upcoming heat wave and remind them of that. Similarly, if winter's rolling around and you want their winter maintenance to be done, if you know there's going to be a freeze coming in, send them the postcard and let them know, you have 2 weeks until your pipes start freezing, something along those lines. From here, I think, unfortunately, we see this happen again. People design a really, really nice postcard, but they maybe only leave one contact method, whether it's a phone number, a website, an email. Provide all the ways you can without being extremely egregious for them to contact you. Typically, phone number, email, website, and a physical address should be sufficient. Something like contact this phone number, here's the email you want to reply to, here's the website you want to visit. Make sure it's readable and visible. Don't tuck it off in like size 6 font all the way off in the corner, because people are going to be looking for it. And if they're going to have to Google your company, if there's any barriers to finding out how to reach out to you, there's going to be less people reaching out to you. You want this to be as spoon-fed as possible. And again, make sure it's in a prominent location, make sure it's easily readable, and provide multiple methods for them to contact you, because stuff happens. If you're only putting in a phone number, operationally, sometimes somebody could reassign that phone number and um, mess up the forwarding to your office number, and as a result, suddenly none of your calls are coming in and they don't know how else to reach out to you. Sometimes phone number websites can go down, or things can happen with your email, and maybe for maybe a filter or some other reason, they can't contact you. Branding, we preach this. Make sure your branding is aligned with all of your marketing. If your company logos are blue, white, and red, please don't send out a yellow, green, and brown postcard. Um, at least at least make sure your logo is very, very well visible, and your brand representation is on point. Make sure, again, your contact information and all of the other areas where they can be exposed to your content are called out. But top of that, coming back to this, please make sure the color scheme is in alignment with the rest of your brand. Make sure the fonts that you're using are the fonts that are on your website and your email templates, and all of your other public-facing communication, and make sure the messaging is consistent as well. Your brand also consists of your company core values and your company mission statement. You want to keep that consistent. You want to keep the same messaging going, and you don't want to have a new identity every year. So the longer you can push the same, the more it gets ingrained into people's heads. So be as consistent as you can. By the way, consistency here isn't only colors and colors and content, but cadence as well. And we'll touch on that in just a bit as we go through the direct mail content setup. Last thing here is a human touch. Direct mail is a tangible medium, right? It's completely atypical to email or direct digital ads, excuse me, or SMS, because we can actually physically touch it and we can interact with it. And what's also different and unique about it is the time and the way people interact with it. So, think through this. You get a text message, you can check that text message on your phone, at work, at home, in the shower. You can go ahead and open your emails anytime you'd like at your convenience from your phone, and you're exposed to digital ads no matter where you go, whether it's on the drive home, whether it's listening to something like Spotify podcast, or simply just browsing the news online, whatever it may be. Direct mail stands out again because you can actually hold it in your hand, and it's very, very, very powerful on a human level because of that factor. A really, really effective thing we've seen is people just dropping funny bits onto their postcard. And the reason why I mention this is, if you think about how direct mail is consumed, typically someone is coming home from work, or going about their day. Their mail comes in, they go to their mailbox at a consistent schedule or consistent time of day, pull it out, and start going through piece by piece, one at a time. Whereas with email and SMS and digital ads, we have a conscious choice on whether or not we can interact with that piece. With mail, they're going to have to look at it no matter what, right, to get it out of their mailbox. And in that moment, you have a real unique opportunity to control their emotions and the response to the ad that you're just going to give them. So case in point, say, I'm coming home from work, and maybe I had a rough day, or it's just been a long week, something along those lines. If I touch a random direct mail card and I only see get a free tune-up, contact us now, and nothing much to it, I may not be too receptive of it. But if I see something like a cute dog or a cute cat or some sort of funny joke, then I now have a change of emotion. I am now in a completely different mind frame, and now I'm suddenly much more receptive to this ad. So it's a real unique medium, but it presents you this opportunity again to provide a human touch to stand out from like the saturation of corporate or overbearing ads that they've been exposed to all day, all week, all month, and the entirety of their lives. And that humorous message is a good differentiator for them, to let them know that this company, again, is maybe a little bit more human and maybe a more relatable company that often can lead to a stronger connection with the customer and again a much higher propensity for conversion. So a couple of things I want to call out before we start going through campaign ideas and then the actual build out of the campaign. We have a ton of resources for you guys to leverage. We have a bunch of direct mail templates available within our direct mail template gallery. I'll be sharing out these links to everyone that's registered and everyone that participated today. We also have a ton of different marketing resources and guides on our Marketing Pro resources page. And lastly, a bunch of how-to videos on our Direct Mail Academy, should you guys need to jump back and reference anything we covered today. But to quickly highlight this, the gallery has hundreds of different types of templates for direct mail, and dozens around acquisition for different trades, for different use cases, the most common ones that you'd expect. Right now, we have templates made for both of our content sizes, 4x6 and 6x9 postcards. So we know content creation can be a big barrier, a big hurdle, and often a big time and money suck for customers. So we went ahead and kind of did our best to pre-can as much as we can for you into these templates. I'd really recommend just taking a look through them to garner different ideas for campaigns, or just pull something that you can reuse or edit for your own needs as you start to run these campaigns. So let's get into actual campaigns. At the plumbing side of things, there's a whole myriad of things you can cover. Some high performing ones that we see are things like seasonal pipe maintenance and inspections, leak detections and repairs, usually at for older homes or at point of sale on homes, high efficiency installations, so just eco-friendly upgrades and smart upgrades, water heater replacements just on the every 10 to 15 years that they may be due for one, winterization services as the freeze season comes in, and sewer line inspections mainly. I'm going to go ahead and take a minute to pause here. I want you guys to go ahead and take your phones, take screenshots, do what you need to do. If you guys have a plumbing servicing company today, go ahead, take a picture. These are those campaigns. And then over here on the right side are the starting points that you need for your audience. So you can put these together. You should have a good enough audience, but certainly can always stack on additional filters for yourself. But for plumbing use cases, this is what oh, excuse me, we totally jumped the gun here. We went to HVAC. For plumbing, here are the use cases we see work the best, again, for those pipe maintenance, inspections, water heater replacements, etc. All of the audience details that you need are going to be over here on the right-hand side. So I'll give everyone another few seconds or so just to take a picture, get a screenshot. If for whatever reason you're unable to, again, I'll be sending this out in a materials deck post the call. For HVAC, very similar. Again, built around maintenance, inspections, and equipment offerings. Very similar deal. We have 2 pages of campaigns to go through today. So again, if you're servicing HVAC right now, go ahead, take a screenshot, take a picture, whatever you need to do. And we'll be sending out all of these out to everybody post the call. This is our second page. Again, just goes over service plans and additional services you can offer. And I'll give it a few more seconds here. For electric services, same gist of things: inspections, memberships, and then equipment installation as well as upgrades. Those safety inspections, again, are really, really, really good ways to get your foot into the door, whether it's on the electrical, plumbing, HVAC side. Two really good ways about going about this. One, marketing to new homeowners within your areas. I'll show you guys how to do that as we go through the demo. But two, also reaching out to older homes that may have been built back when there was less regulation or maybe less oversight during things. And again, offering some sort of discount or even a free inspection sometimes is a great way to go around and find 4 or 5 things that you can then turn into a higher paying job. Again, on the electrical side, smart equipment upgrades, EV stations are a huge one now as we see electrical vehicle adoption start to skyrocket within the US. And for garage door, same vein of things, replacements, installs, maintenance. But the acquisition tool is going to help you guys build all of these audiences and then further filter based on whatever criteria you guys need. Spend another 5 seconds here, just let you guys take any pictures should you need them. And then from here, we can take a look at some real world examples of successful direct mail campaigns that have been launched through Marketing Pro, following these best practices and keeping them in mind. I like to bring these examples up because they're across completely different ranges of campaign sizes, but give you guys ideas as to what's possible in terms of the upper end of things once you have this down. So in this case, they ordered 20 postcards and got $3,582 in revenue off 3 sold jobs. This campaign cost them $13 and bought back 27,500% ROI. This is on a smaller scale, but extremely, extremely targeted. This was a HVAC maintenance campaign ran to a very, very select set of homes pre-incoming heat wave. And you guys can see the results here. Moving on, we have a bit of a larger campaign. This tenant had a strong savings from their manufacturer that they decided to pass on to their customers and just market it. They ended up hitting 2 zip codes, filtering for single family homes that were over a certain value, I believe 400K. And they ended up getting 10 jobs out of this campaign and $70,000 back. And this was a real, real awesome one. So they ordered 2,504 postcards, ended up costing them $1,627. They made $180,000 in direct revenue. Again, this was pre-heat wave. They marketed unit replacements, letting people know that they were about to run into the strongest heat wave that their region had seen in a long time. And as a result, got a bunch of installs and also a bunch of maintenance jobs, and made it a very, very fruitful experience for themselves. But again, this is only possible if you keep all of these best practices in mind and you run campaigns against a goal that you know has a high chance to convert, and that also translates high value. So with all of that said and done, let's go ahead and hop over and let's get building a direct mail campaign. Um, and I'll just keep this as concise as possible, so we have some room for Q&A towards the end. But I'll just put myself in the shoes of a marketer running a new direct mail campaign. Say, we'll go with that manufacturer discount example. Say I want to start marketing new water heaters that my manufacturer has provided to me at a strong discount due to them having some overstock units that they want to get rid of. So what I'll go ahead and do is just opt to create a direct mail campaign, and we'll call this one our water heater special and just start building. For now, we'll save this as a draft and we'll jump back to it. What we're going to go ahead and do right now is start putting together our audience list or our list of prospects. So we're going to go to our audiences page over here on the left-hand side, click create new, click on acquire customers and name it something like Wendell prospects water heater. special. Awesome. And we'll give it a start. Give this a few moments, guys. This is a demo account. It is going to take some time for this to load. Fortunately, these accounts just aren't resourced the same way as normal accounts. So we may have to spend some time chatting together in a little bit. But what we're essentially going to do is filter for customers we know have a high propensity to convert in an area we know there's already a high likelihood for them to do so. So what we can go ahead and do once this guy is done loading is filter for our specific zip codes. In this case, what we're going to start by doing is filtering for zip codes within Glendale and then just searching for all the criteria that we want. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just try opening up another audience here for the sake of ease. Find an acquisition audience that we've put together before. Awesome. Cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and relocate us to Glendale, California. There we go. And if we take a look at the map, you'll notice when we apply a zip code, it'll just go ahead and pull all the properties within it for us. And we can just drill in and zoom in and take a look at all the individual properties and click in on them just to understand, what they entail. If I was to go back to running my campaign, what I go ahead and do is first thing, filter for the areas I know I have a high propensity to convert. So in Glendale, let me just shoot over there. That's going to be the mountains between Glendale and Pasadena and the mountains to the north of Glendale. In those areas, the homes were built starting in the 20s. And there hasn't really been a lot of new construction, if any. So these should be areas that we know are typically old. The inhabitants within them tend to be a little bit on the older side as well, and wealthier. So these are people that we know have a high propensity to convert because one, they view their home as an investment. Two, they have a little bit more cash on hand, and as a result, would likely be less of objectors on price. And the third factor here is they probably tend to view their home more as an investment than somebody who may only be staying short term or maybe recently moved into a new development. So from here, we'll filter it down to the properties that are relevant to us. In this case, let's say single family residences. We don't need to market to townhomes, condos, apartments. They're not the decision makers, but they also just don't need our water heater offering. Then we can further refine it by the age of the structure because we know that properties, greater or less than probably 15 or 10 years old aren't due for one just yet. So what we'll say is just find me all the ones 20 years old. What you can also do is filter for homes between a given range. So if you've identified anything in your area that you know is a commonality in developments in a given time frame, say like from the 40s to the 70s, they put in lead pipes that you want to go and let people know about and inspect their homes, potentially find a replacement job. You could filter for homes between 40 or 70 years old, whatever the range you might need is. In this case, let's just do greater than 20. Shouldn't have much effect on our overall reach in the audience just because, again, there's almost no new development in Glendale. And from here, we can further refine, right? So we can say, hey, find me homes that are within certain values. And we can say, find me homes that are of a current market value that's greater than $1.2 million. And that'll do is, again, just limit it to those that we know have really, really high propensity to convert. And as we keep stacking information, we'll get a smaller and smaller and smaller audience. So the idea here is don't just don't just excuse me, totally lost my train of thought. Don't just market 5,000 postcards again, as we said it earlier. Don't just market like 5,000 postcards to get 50 jobs. If you can market more, or excuse me, less, and get more out of it. So don't cast a wide net. Try to get the right reel and the rod and the bait for the specific fish that you want. And from here, once we're done with our audience, all we have to do is just click continue. We'll move forward and we can start setting up the campaign. So as we start putting together the campaign, we'll be prompted to choose the delivery logic we want, whether it's one time or automated. In this case, we do one time. If we want to set up a recurring automation to new homeowners using the property last sold data, for example, just say reach out to everybody who moved in over the past 6 months. You could set up an automation, and every month as new people meet that criteria, they'll go ahead and be sent mail. But in this case, it's one-time blast. That's all we're looking for, just one and done. We'll choose the print date that we want. So let's say, we want these orders to start printing and being processed on the 31st. So we'll go ahead and mark that. Choose our stop trigger. In this case, it's only one postcard, so it's not really too relevant anyway. And we can choose the return address we want the mail coming to. This is first class mail, so it is going to be returning. A lot of vendors, if they're sending standard class mail, again, standard class mail doesn't get returned. If they're sending first class, often just won't return or forward the return mail to you. We're fully transparent. We want you to see where your returns are coming from and what your returns are. If you'd like to set up a PO box, or if you'd like to, have them go to your home as opposed to the office or anything like that, just go ahead and change the address here. Down here at the bottom, if this is a revenue converting campaign, you want to go ahead and add a tracking number. If you have a number manually, you can go ahead and do that. But if there's revenue behind it, always make sure you have a tracking number. Make sure your tracking number is set up accordingly and correctly. If you have Phones Pro, that means making sure it's in the right pool. Else, if you're a normal user, just making sure that you have your phones forwarding to the right line you want. For most people, that's going to be their office default line. But if you need it to go to another call center, or if you need it to go anywhere else, you can always set the forwarding number as needed. From here, next step is to just pick the audience that you've set up for your campaign. We'll choose that Glendale audience. And from here, upload your content. So it's pretty straightforward. You can either just, take content that you have on hand and upload it, as long as it meets the image requirements. It's as simple as just upload it and see it get applied. If you don't have content, if you need to set up content, well, that's okay too. What you can do is jump into this template gallery, click in on this link up here at the top, and we'll open up the template gallery I was mentioning earlier. From here, you'll have access to all these different templates. If you'd like easy prospecting templates, just click in on this acquisition templates by topic button down here, and it'll open up a list for you. So as we click through it, we'll try to look for something that is relaying what we need. And you know what? I think I saw a template back there that I liked. Cool. May have jumped too far. There we go. 6.9, and let's do something like a dog. Cool. There you go. So let's get this guy. So once you opt to use the template, we're gonna have you log into Canva real quick. And from here, you should be able to quickly make any edits you may need. So we're running a water heater campaign. Fill out our content. Once the content is to our liking, all we have to do is just go ahead and um, download the content, make sure it's at the right size we want. And by the way, guys, again, just to quickly mention this, there's literally endless amounts of templates here. But another cool thing here is if you guys are using Canva already and you guys have a styling setup in a brand kit, you can quickly alter all of these postcards and content files to your liking by just clicking in on a different style. So it'll automatically go ahead and change the fonts, the colors, everything to reflect what you've set up. So a great way to keep that consistency that we were talking about earlier is set up a brand kit within Canva and then just take these templates that we have and go ahead, restyle them using your brand kit. Obviously, make sure your phone number has everything else are updated, but it's a super, super fast way to get really good postcards like that. Um, and once your postcard is done, again, you simply just go back in here. You download the file from Canva and then go ahead, re-upload what you need. It'll go ahead and apply for you. And once that's done, you save and continue. Again, you can send a 6x9 postcard, you can send a 4x6 postcard. What we see is 6x9 typically tends to work better on acquisition campaigns. The reason why is if you were to hold up a 4x6 card next to a normal 8.5x11 trifold envelope, that 4x6 card doesn't really stand out as much, whereas that 6x9 is obviously towering over everything else and is usually either picked up immediately or picked up with lots of interest. So once you've gone through the process of just setting up those campaign details and choosing your audience, setting up your postcard, you should see a reflection of spend. Your spend is essentially just going to be the number of people in your in your audience for that campaign times the cost per postcard. These are all-in costs again, so fully baked in print, processing, shipping. And this isn't a margin play for us. I promise you, we're not making a lot of money on these cards. So I like from the automation standpoint, this is a very, very attractive thing just because there's no volume numbers or thresholds to meet or consistently consider. And again, last thing to do here is just review the postcard, make sure your content is within the safe zone and make sure nothing is running into the bleed area or outside the safe zone. And once that's done, all you have to do is click schedule and you'll go ahead and schedule the campaign, get it ready for launch. Once the campaign goes live, you can report on it by taking a look at your campaign details page. And within your campaign details page, you're going to see, again, your performance totals, so how many calls have come in, leads, book jobs, manual calls, and new customers, your revenue totals, how much revenue, how many sold jobs, and what was your total cost of the campaign. On the direct mail side of things, you'll see how many postcards you ordered, how many orders were placed, how many were printing, how many shipped, and how many failed. Down here at the bottom, we have our attributed revenue totals. You can always see the postcard you sent down here at the bottom and any calls that may have come in as a result down here as well. So at a category level, all of your campaigns will be rolled up into this category view and you have all of your category metrics be reflected over here. So Once you run your campaigns, again, assuming a tracking phone number is there, there's really not much you have to do besides just keep an eye on the ball, understand what the performance is like, and make continuous edits or changes. Uh, I'll go ahead and stop here. I know there was some questions going back and forth in the chat, but is there any questions, comments, concerns that have come up along the way? Okay. Rich, looks like you mentioned an insurance renewal list. How can I target those? More like, how can I get the data from when homeowners are up for their insurance renewals? So we don't have that data. Rather, the assessment record, and this is a tax assessment record, gets done at point of home insurance renewal for some policies, not all, and that's not mandated everywhere. But we don't have any data on the insurance renewals themselves per se. And if you're looking for third-party sources of that, you'll probably have to go through a third-party aggregator who has that information on hand. With automatic campaigns, how often will the mailers be sent out? For example, as the audience updates with more people, will mailers be sent in bulk or individually? Okay, great question. So we get data refreshes once a month. Essentially what happens is like these aggregators go through and on a state by state, like city by city basis, they all up report their data. And so after a period of time, essentially like once a month, we get a data refresh for acquisition specific automations where we're doing something like a new homeowner campaign. Excuse me. The postcards will be sent essentially once a month in bulk, but on a continuous basis. Whereas with a retention campaign, if you're remarketing to existing customers, the postcards are sent out as an event happens. So for example, like job status, complete, and you send a thank you postcard, or estimate status equals open, and you send that open estimate. Are you able to identify the age of a roof based off of last permit built? This is usually in the property appraiser's office here in Florida. So that typically that comes from a different data set. There's the tax assessment data set, and there's literally a job permit data set. We don't have anything that's consumable for you guys through the product around permits right now. I know it's something that we have considered in the past, and probably will come back to at some point, but I don't have a clear timeline as to when that is. What I can tell you is the permit data is available through third-party aggregators. I'm not sure about what the laws are in Florida, but in some states it's actually public information as well. As long as you give them a list of addresses, they can pull the permits for you. So it might just be as simple as like going through an exercise where you pull a list of addresses you're interested in and then forward it over. But yeah, unfortunately, nothing available in the product in its current form. Any other questions, guys? Anything else that you guys may want to talk through? And feel free to come off of mute, by the way, and just ask the question. Going once, going twice. Okay. Awesome. I think that wraps it up, guys. Again, just to recap, I'll be sending out these lists of campaigns out to everybody that was on the call today, just for as materials for you guys to keep on hand. And should you guys, want to start running any of these campaigns, feel free to utilize the filters here. But if they have any other questions, if any comments, concerns come up along the way as you guys play with the tool yourselves, feel free to reach out to myself. Feel free to reach out to Alex. I'll go ahead and just leave my personal email down here at the bottom. So feel free to jot that down. And should you guys need any help with any campaigns, have any questions around direct mail, feel free to utilize me as a resource. I'm more than happy to hold your hand along the way. Cool.
Thanks, Ara, and thanks everyone for joining the workshop. Hope you learned some things, and excited to see what campaigns you'll launch. If you have any questions, we both put our email addresses in there. Please don't hesitate to reach out and ask anything you might want to clarify maybe before you launch your campaigns. And we'll be more than happy to jump even on one-on-one calls with you to help with any of the campaigns, etc. you plan on launching. Thank you all.